Meeting to order and stand for the pledge, please.
Recording in progress.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome to our October 3rd Jefferson County Local Development Corporation monthly meeting. Meeting's called to order. Privilege of the floor. We have no guests, but I would like to acknowledge and recognize Ryan Shea. Welcome. Ryan's probably introduced himself to all, and I'll give him a moment to introduce himself if he wishes to those he hasn't.
Well, I think I got a chance to see everybody, but thanks for having me. Thanks for letting me be your guest today.
You brought a check, right?
Yeah.
I think Bill has the check.
Yeah. I think he left it at McDonald's when he got his coffee. All right, well, thank you, and welcome to Jefferson County. You didn't have to move far, but big culture shock, right? Moving to the big county.
Yeah, big city.
All right, our minutes are on page 3. Hopefully they've been reviewed, and if so, may I have a motion to accept them as presented?
So moved.
Dave first,
Second.
Bill second. Any other discussion or corrections? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting minutes are approved. Treasurer's report, page 5, Paul.
Well, it's a boring report. There's not much activity from what we would have expected, except for the distribution of some of our grant monies, which we'll talk about later in the agenda. The balance sheet, if you look at the comparative, there was some changes, but that's pretty much all due to normal expenses and the distribution of some of our program monies. Other than that, everything looked in line with expectations in the budget. And I'd offer a motion to accept it.
Okay, so we have a first from Paul. Second. Paul, I want to ask you a question about these. You said the outstanding were in here. You told me page 13.
That is in the IDA budget.
Okay, because I thought, I'm like, I didn't think I missed it, but apparently
When we talked,
Yeah,
we were
okay.
talking about things within the IDA.
correct.
report.
And so this one, there's nothing to report. Okay. Any other questions for the treasurer's report? Okay. Motion to accept, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Report stands carried. Committee reports. I think the finance committee starts on page 23. Paul, surprisingly, you are the chair again. Not surprisingly, but you were surprised during the meeting.
Yes, I
You were
was.
like, I'm the chair.
So we had a meeting to talk about the next year's budget in all of the agents in all our 3 operations. But in this one, you'll notice after discussion, there's some minor changes, some of them due to salaries. I'm trying to get to the page. You'll see the
26.
administration fees, if that's reduced, that's pretty much due to salaries. Other than that, the biggest discussions we had was, well, you'll see the grant income is expected to drop next year also. We did have a large discussion about reserves for bad debt. And Lyle?
Yeah, I believe with the LDC, the balance in the bad debt reserve is $37,500. That appears to be adequate based upon a review of the existing accounts. We only have, I think, about 6 or 7 accounts in the micro. So the reserve really is probably adequate to handle anything we would write off. And write-offs will consist largely of the $2,500 grant portion of the COVID loan.
Is there any questions? Does everyone understand in our COVID loans that we only expected repayment? We were going to grant to $2,500. We weren't going to collect as part of that. So that's where that's coming from. Any other comments from members of the finance committee? Any questions from the rest of the board?
I guess I was out of town, so I didn't make the meeting. I noticed that our salaries are quite a bit lower. Now we're looking I thought we were at one point, thought we might be looking for another person. We
Yep.
lost Joey and
Yes,
Dave.
And Dave. Yes, we started that process, interviewed a couple of candidates, and then really decided that, and Lyle played a big part of this from our budget perspective. We were hesitant to make any changes on the staff at that time and right now. We would like to add another person, but given everything that is happening, as well as our culture in this office, we felt we could pick up the slack and there wouldn't be a real letdown in service. So that was our plan.
I guess we can always modify the budget at some point if you decide to do that, but down 2 people, and I know our workload has not really changed that much.
It hasn't. It's
Okay.
it's concerning to me too.
But would you say, coming back to the workload with all the county appropriation grant money,
Yeah.
that is 2/3 through the process? I mean, is most of the work been done on that to the point where now it's monitoring and
Well,
are you halfway through it, or?
I would say that, really, as far as a workload perspective, we're probably 80% through it because so much of it is setting up the processes and everything. We take these grants now, we know exactly what to do with them. And so, really, as we continue to approve grants, and I'm certainly not trying to take away from the good work that's continuing. But it is a situation where we seem to have it under control.
Any other questions of staff?
I think based upon the workload that we have now, we have it spread out. We're handling it very nicely. To address the grants, Robin has a good handle on that.
Yep.
We should expend all of those funds, or pretty much all of them, next year. That will put it behind us. Most of the COVID loans will probably be paid off next year. That'll go away.
Okay.
Now we have the ongoing things, but with 5 people we have right now, we're doing very well.
Good to hear.
We're good jugglers.
There you go. All right, any other questions before I read the resolution? Okay, so page 26, we have a Jefferson County Local Development Corp. Resolution 10.03.2024.01 for confirming a reserve for bad debt allowance for calendar year ending 2025, whereas a bad debt reserve was set up for 2,500 grant portion of the COVID loans. As of September, the reserve is now 37,500. Mr. Eaton is not recommending a change in this reserve for 2025, whereas on September 26th, the Finance Committee approved or reviewed and recommended this allowance be agreed and moved to the full Board of Directors. Do we have a motion to accept this resolution? We'll vote on the budget directly after this.
I'm a
Okay, at first.
Second.
Paul. Any other discussion on the bad debt reserve? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. We've already reviewed the budget, and Lyle usually wants the board to affirm, so if we can approve the budget as presented, just really all in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Approving budget.
There was no resolution for the
Yeah,
budget.
two
so
separate
we'll
motions.
Still should have a motion on the
Yeah, we're gonna have a motion.
Okay.
motion.
Well, somebody make a motion to
I'll
accept
move
the
it.
budget, Dave.
Second.
Chris was the second.
Any other discussion? We'll dig the vote again, hopefully it's the same. All in favor, aye? Any opposed? Okay, very good. Trying to move things along quickly.
No, you're fine.
Too quickly. Jay is not here.
Not here today.
Okay, well, make his report for him. Thanks for all the help. And agriculture is still a big thing in Jefferson County. We'll make it, keep it that way. Anything he added?
Well, I would like
Bring
to
up.
thank Dr. Gardner for his presentation during Rotary last week, I believe it was. That was it was a great afternoon and a lot of interesting things that we talked about, and we appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
And, we continue to work on ag projects every minute of every day is what he's doing. We're real busy.
All right. If you want to roll into between you and Rob and manufacturing and marketing,
Yeah.
then we can roll right into ARPA.
Absolutely. I'm going to combine them, I'd say, because the big thing that we have going on is Manufacturing Day. And I would like to thank Robin as well as Jay for their efforts in this program. Manufacturing Day is where students throughout the county, as well as St. Lawrence County and Lewis County, visit manufacturers for a tour and to get a handle on what it is that they do and for potential career in manufacturing. It's a wonderful program. In the past, we've helped over 2,000 students and impact them in a positive way.
Okay. Anything to add?
No, the schools are really excited about it. We got 2 new schools and 2 new manufacturers, so it's turning out pretty cool. And the one manufacturer pointed out, did you know October is employee-owned month? Employee ownership month, and so CEM always does something fun, and they're the new manufacturers having a couple schools come in, so they're really excited to talk about that.
Nice, very good. Page 28, 29, Robin, I think you usually go through
Things
the
are going
ARPA.
really good on the grants. And, we've got it so organized, it's a smooth transition. It's still work, but it's still going really well. As you can see, like the childcare is going down. We're really working on getting these out the door, so to say. So everything's going smooth.
Okay. Page 30 and 31 were added to our packet. So page 30 reviews contemplation of $59,000 odd of new grants. And 31 is our resolution if they're so approved. So who wants to lead kind of going through what these are and
You want to start, Marshall?
Sure. I'll just kind of run down them. School Days is looking to do a new laptop computer and computer main tower. Their total project is $2,100 with a funding recommendation of $1,680. 1,000 ounce bait store, new point of sale system, registers tablet printer, and some training. Total project there is $14,195. So $10,000 funding recommendation. Lube Express installing a new set of rolling jacks and new tire change system with a total project of $27,702. Funding recommendation of $10,000. And Snapshots Photo Booth, 2 new updated photo booths for digital prints, and their total project is $15,050 with a funding recommendation of $10,000.
Question on the applications. Do they have to demonstrate to us how this is going to improve their business by these new purchases?
They do that through the narrative, and so I'd just say that they demonstrate it that way.
Like Snapchat's photo booths. So they have photo booths that are old that just do prints. Nowadays, people want both, but people are not going to rent 2 photo booths. So that's why this update, these new photo booths will offer both for that.
Okay.
And like the point of sale system for TI Bait Store.
Yeah,
They bought it, it's out of date. Same with School Days. They haven't purchased any new laptops. They're slow. They're always having issues, because they're online sales and stuff. They sell to schools. So that's what it is. We ask them to demonstrate. They'll say, I just want it. Well, you got to show in the sense through a narrative.
Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise,
I just make a comment.
go ahead.
A comment is these projects clearly demonstrate the concept of give me a little pool of money and we can move forward with expanding our business. It's not an 80% grant, it's that small amount, but yet look at the money they were willing to put into it. That's to me is the success of a grant program right there.
They leverage funds. I mean, this one for the Lube Express, nearly $30,000 project. So.
Yep.
With that, a motion to accept these, and then we can further discuss if there's any more discussion.
So moved.
Greg first,
Second?
Christine. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? The grant recommendations stand. I misspoke, it's 31,000, I read the wrong column. Leads us to our last order of business. Resolution on page 31. Jefferson County Local Development Corporation Resolution 10.03.2024.02, resolution to approve paychecks as the third-party administrator to the 401k profit sharing plan. Whereas JCLDC currently uses paychecks for payroll services, and to gain efficiencies, full integration with paycheck retirement services, to have one provider, one platform, and an all bundled record keeping and third-party administrative service. Whereas RDC Wealth Management will continue to be the financial advisor to the 401k profit sharing plan and will work with paychecks. And whereas the 401k plan trustees, Weir and Converse, are recommending approval by the full board of directors for paychecks to be third-party administrators to the 401k profit sharing plan. Do we have a motion to accept that wordy resolution?
I'll move it.
Second.
First and a second, that was Ed and Paul. Any other discussion or questions?
Is this kind of part of the balancing act to make do with the two open positions? This is kind of a little bit of a backfill to help that happen.
I would say that is true in some respects. It has been a long, it's a onerous process on the record keeping and the administrative service. So yes, that will take some load off from Lyle. I don't know if you'd like to comment on this.
It's a rather extensive record keeping requirement in order to get to the final 5,500 form that's prepared every year. We're doing most of it on Excel spreadsheets and submitting it. And then of course, you're going to make errors and overlook things. If we put it all in one place, Paychecks has the whole thing. Our input will be zero. We will get a 5,500 out of Paychecks at year end and meet all legal requirements.
What's the annual budget for that, roughly cost of that?
There's a one-time fee, which is about, what is it, 5,000 approximately? 3,600. And then what's the annual fee?
Is it a percentage of what they manage?
0.34%.
Yeah, it's like a percentage of what they manage.
Yeah.
typically.
Yeah.
Take a load.
Yeah, it's 34% of the assets, I think,
Hopefully point.
of the total assets, so.
Otherwise, I'm gonna take
So-
the job.
So the breakdown shows, years 1 through 3, the total planned expenses will be 4858. And then year 4 and beyond, because of that one-time fee, we're gonna break it down. It's gonna be 3658 going forward. Right now, we're paying 5,100 with BPAS.
With
It's a
less,
savings.
with, yes, so with less service and we're
Right.
record keeping. So we feel this is a good deal.
Perfect.
Shouldn't think so.
All right, any other discussion?
RBC's fees gonna stay the same, correct?
Yes.
All in favor of the resolution, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn, unless there's other business I skipped over.
I'll move it.
Okay, Ed,
Second.
Lisa, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned, move to our next meeting.
Bye, Dr. Gardner.
I'll see
Bye,
everybody.
Greg. Take care.
Take care.
Call to order our Jefferson County Industrial Development Agency monthly board meeting, October 3rd, 2024. We've already done our pledge and privilege of the floor. We now have one guest. Hi, Craig. Minutes, page 3, and then we also have special minutes we'll do separately. They've been received and reviewed, and if so, motion to accept as presented.
So moved.
Lisa,
Second.
any other discussion or corrections? All in favor to approve the minutes as presented, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes carry. We had special meeting on page 6. Also, we've been received and reviewed. With that, a motion to accept is presented.
So moved.
Dave,
Second.
Lisa? Any other discussion or corrections? All in favor, aye? Any opposed? Those minutes stand. Page 8, treasurer's report, Paul.
Wow, that was quick.
We're making sausage today, I tell you.
Well, if you check out the revenues, we show a pilot sale leaseback fee, and I forget what Lyle told me, the 62
It's for 302.
Globe Mini Mall fee. We are not gonna make our budgeted amount, but it was nice to see a fee come in there. That was the biggest in the revenue stream. You'll see that number again. Just a reminder, when we get into the next year's budget, that number is a balancing number. Okay. Trying to remember everything we talked about, Rob. The comparative balance sheet looks in order. But I had a couple questions. We were holding corp. What is that, Marshall? There was
Must be a fee.
an application.
We were,
Two fees.
yeah, 2 fees.
Robin's been dealing with them.
They wanted sales tax and a microloan, and they came in, filled the application. Well, we're working on filling out the application, and they haven't responded in a while, but Lyle worked out the sales tax, the cost benefit analysis, and I worked on both that, the sales tax and the microloan, and I haven't heard anything from them. So
Okay.
it's a fees.
Well,
We did
I
the
just
work.
was wondering because we haven't seen anything that
Right.
caught me who they were.
Yep.
So I was
They're-
unsure what that was as,
They're doing a project out on Route 11. They want to do a building, and her husband would have he has an accounting firm, would be one tenant, and then they had like 3 or 4
Okay.
other tenants, so it was a build out.
so it's a fee for a microloan and sales tax abatement.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. If we go to the microloan receivables, we'll see the Collins Cherry Tree is 1 month, but they tend to get caught up. Painful Acres is now 5 months out, and I believe staff is still working with
Yes,
them.
yes.
And
Yep.
everything leads, they just have some issues they're dealing with that have kept them in arrears.
Mhm.
But I think, is it safe to say staff thinks they'll get caught up over time?
Well, I think they will, yeah. Painful Acres is probably going to have a difficult time because I think their season is pretty well past.
Mhm.
However, they've done this before. They've been slow. If we get one payment a month, they're still good. So other than that one, I don't think we have any problem. We'll have to remind Colleen to get a letter, but I think that'll come through.
Very good. If we go to the revolving loan fund receivables, we'll see LCO Destiny is no surprise, is still behind, and I think we're gonna talk about that later, but now Convault is 2 months behind on their loan, which is interest only if I'm correct.
That's correct.
So that's that. The growth fund with Hales Bus Garage, we've all remember that project. They're current. And the only other thing I wanted to point out is that we continue to see the legal fees grow for the Convolt project. That's in the miscellaneous receivables. And that is going to be picked up at closing, Marshall?
That would be the plan, yes.
Okay. And other than that, I didn't see anything other than what I brought up that jumps out at me. Was there anything I missed, Rob, that we?
No, the only thing I may not have asked you a question about when I called, based on our burn rate per month, we're gonna be about 80,000 over on expenses. If you look at the balance sheet, we're burning about 80,000 a month. We've got 170K left, so we're kind of missing the revenue side, which is not a surprise, but I'm more surprised we're missing the expense side. Unless I'm looking at something wrong, we have 169 left from budget, and we're spending about 80,000 a month. So we're gonna be just a little over on that side as well to make.
I'm just trying to see, doesn't that
On
include?
page 8. Well, I mean, it includes other things like
The
that. I
grants.
mean, it includes a lot of things that I'll call soft costs, but you have to account for them.
Yeah, and the building depreciation is one
As
of
far
them.
as real money, yeah, we might be okay, but
We'll know more in another month.
we'll know exactly on 12/31. That's the beautiful thing about accounting.
No,
You know the truth in the future.
It'll probably be mid-January.
Yeah, there we go.
So,
We'll give Bowers a couple days.
other than that, that's all I had unless there's other questions.
But on the expense side, well, I mean, there's nothing peculiar, right? This is just general accounting, like the bad debt, the depreciation.
Those are non-cash items.
But they-
add them
they-
back in.
They accumulate to that total.
That's correct.
Any other, do we have a motion to accept the report?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor of the treasurer's report? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Paul, you get the alternative energy, you're just like.
Alternative energy, we haven't had a meeting, but I received a phone call from Bill Johnson in his role as chairman and of the legislature. And it was a question about 18444, whatever, is the Game Farm Road Solar Project. Okay,
Which town?
Brownville.
Okay, you might have said that at the beginning anyway.
No, I didn't, but it is in Brownville. And it was a project, I believe I told you that in 2021, we went through, held a public hearing, approved a pilot, and nothing's come of it since then. And Bill believes it's close to being energized, getting real close. And is our offer of a pilot still good 3 years later? Or did that expire? I see we're talking later about reefer magic or whatever. Extending theirs. I don't recall after we approved that pilot that we ever have done an extension. I was under the impression that they might have had 2 years to close on that pilot. They haven't closed on it, correct?
It's a loan. To be clear for
No, he's
No,
talking
I
about
was-
the
oh,
solar.
I was just
Oh,
saying,
sorry.
we're talking about extending the approval for
Yeah.
refertilizer.
Yeah.
And we've never had that same discussion with Game Farm Road Solar. Now I wonder, is that offer still on the table? Is that pilot still valid?
Why don't we ask our esteemed counsel?
I have archived it.
If they've completed the projects, we can't exempt something already on the rolls, so typically,
What?
a closing shouldn't
I
occur
don't think it's on the
before
roll.
construction starts, so we capture and exempt everything, so.
Well,
This was approved previous to that though. But it's just taken them this long.
Approval's fine, but if it's built, the assessor's gonna assess it.
Well, it's not assessed yet on the current roll.
Right.
My question is, they haven't closed. We haven't received our fee from this company. And if they show up with a fee, for how long is our approval of, okay, here's a pilot agreement and you gotta close. We went through it with 2XL,
For example.
4XL, where we told them they had to close by the end of a year or the deal was off the table. And how long can we let these sit out there? You know, the decisions of taxing jurisdictions 3 years down the road may be different on what is expected in taxation. My personal belief is that they're not going to use the pilot, they're just going to use the new valuation model, which is probably more beneficial to them in the long run.
There a reasonable time so we didn't collect a fee, so there's no contract. There was an offer, not an acceptance. Is there a reasonable period of time we could expect
Just to put the finest point on it, an approval by you doesn't give them the benefit. They need to close with you in order to receive the benefit, the mechanism of entering into a leaseback, signing a pilot agreement, and then filing that with the assessor needs to occur generally before construction starts. If you do it midway, it's a little iffy, and certainly if they've built something, there's no sense in entering into a pilot after it's built. It's just too late.
So is there anything else?
We include a date that's a year or maybe sometimes 18 months out from approval to give them a window of time to close. And if they blow past that, they generally need to come to you and say, I need more time, assuming they haven't started construction. So
Okay.
I'm going to assume that they're going to use the assessor's model at this point. Your benefit isn't really available to them.
So to
But in
Paul's question, if the $2,500 check were to show up tomorrow, the board has no obligation whatsoever to approve, basically give the pilot.
Well, no, they've paid the fee.
Oh, we
But
did-
here,
oh, they
here's
did
the,
pay the fee.
here's the
Sorry, I
bigger
didn't get
discussion we
paid.
need to have is,
Sorry.
we have staff time, they pay the fee, we go through the process, we hold a public hearing, we have
Yeah.
legal fees
Yeah.
that are generated to get through this, documents drawn up,
Okay.
and I'm be willing to bet that exceeds $2,500. And so we've run up expenses that we're not gonna recoup. And moving forward, I think we have to talk about a way that if they don't move forward in a certain time frame,
Well, we do have the fee schedule on here somewhere, I think.
you know, so they've paid the application
We
fee.
should maybe think about
But there's probably
Timeline.
$60,000, $70,000 in agency fees that they would pay to get the benefits.
which normally would come out of our fee collection, which we're not collecting in this case.
Yeah.
We did a lot of work.
You know, all those expenses get rolled into, covered by the pilot fee at the end of the day. But since we're not getting that, you know, we're spending money that we're not recouping. And I think we've had discussions that our fees were too high. We've lowered the fees, but I think we have to find a mechanism to guarantee that our hard costs, staff time is one thing, but legal on top of that is another.
Do we, Justin, if they did in fact pay the fee, they filled out an application, do we have the right to send them a bill for the legal fees?
Generally, yeah, you use the deposit to offset that. If there's anything more owed, they sign an application.
Okay, I mean,
Yeah, I can check our files, I'm not sure exactly.
Okay. it might be worth trying to send a letter, say, you know, you didn't close on this, the approval's expired, you owe us $12,000 in legal fee, whatever the number is.
Well,
You can
let's
always
wait.
be told no, but if you don't ask.
See, I don't believe that General Brown recognizes the 487 exemption, and I'm not sure General Brown, Town of Brownville does either. I haven't checked that deep in it. I know the county, but did you get a chance to check to see if they filed their notice of proceeding?
No, but we're having a meeting today, right?
Okay, and I forget, the county adopted a resolution. The state allowed it to pass a resolution once that they expect pilots to be negotiated on any, but I don't know if this project began before you adopted that resolution. That's another thing to check. But it goes back to issues with 487, and developers know that they got, all the taxing jurisdictions tend to be confused on the provisions of 487, and making sure that everybody gets the most they can from these projects.
Okay.
They may just decide to pay full taxation with a valuation model, who knows?
But still, your point going down the road, to me, is valid, Paul, in the sense that we should be putting timelines to these as we approve them going forward.
Especially if they decide, change their mind after we've expended beyond their $2,500.
Okay.
Is there language in the application to that effect?
I would think so. I mean, Justin, can we put that as an action item between you and staff to just to check the file on that and determine if we have a legal right to claim?
Yeah, we can make that clear in the application.
Okay.
There's already an indemnity that they're responsible for all costs, whether or not they close. Your approval resolutions can have stronger language for a drop dead date as well.
Okay.
That might be helpful and serve as a gating mechanism.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're past the initial rush of these projects coming fast and
I
furious.
think we're past seeing another one, period, but.
Yeah. And it comes back to three-phase power lines, every one of them in the county, if you look at them. has been a
And
giant
that would be
project.
all I could say as far as alternative energy,
Okay.
How big is that one?
5 megawatts. It's a community solar one again.
Something went on there, because they were gun ho for a period of time and it just stopped. But then the other day I went by there and there was work done again, and I noticed that the receiving structure where they're gonna connect to the three-phase, there's been some more work done on it, like they're getting ready to connect, so
Mhm.
that's when I called.
Who's the, do you know who the owner of that is? Like,
It's
Nexan,
a-
oil?
They created, no, it's
Okay, it's
not.
not.
They created another LLC. And it just, so it does not appear on the 2024 assessment roll, anything. They haven't created a
Okay.
suffix parcel or anything like that yet. The assessor hasn't.
Page 20, building and grounds, I guess between David and Lisa, you were the only two that were actually present at the meeting. They're at this meeting. Just run us through and give us an update if there's anything to update. And then you, Dave. That's usually one day, Dave.
That's okay.
Sometimes there's more than one,
Well, we
name.
can share, you know.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, we did have, BCA here with, Gregor Smith and Mike Mitchell. And they were going over the drawings, of where the water and sewer lines are gonna be, in the business park there. And, it was very informative. They were, answered questions in terms of capacity, and so forth. So, that was essentially it. And you'll see that in the minutes. I mean, it's a good recap of what was discussed.
So was John overall satisfied?
Yeah.
Because he had some
Yeah.
questions ahead of
So-
time.
They
Yeah.
answered, excuse me, I was at the meeting, I'm not a member, but John's big question was there full-time inspection?
Right.
And the answer was yes.
Full-time inspection. They're gonna loop the park with the water line and everything. So it really gives us multiple options for future.
Right. And they were able to answer that, if you had multiple businesses there, what the capacity would be and how it could handle it. So it was very informative.
All right. Good. Any other questions for building and grounds? I'm gonna, in between this and finance, Lisa, I asked you briefly, just update on nominating. I know it's for the LDC open positions, but we have to appoint them here. in this board.
Right. So I have been given 4 names for 2 seats. And I don't know if you want me to mention names, but one, I think has been mentioned already, with Chuck Capone at Watertown Savings. I did, see him Friday at Don Rutherford's retirement party. He's very interested because he is coming off the Watertown Trust Board in December, and would certainly like to serve. There's another person that is, I think might be a conflict for here because he's working through a pilot program for his property. And I think we have to get clarification of that. I don't think it hasn't been approved, but he has an application in, correct?
Yes.
So that might be a conflict. And then there was another one that Greg Gardner recommended, Dawn Robinson, who's a business professor at JCC. And then I think Ed mentioned Jude Renzi. I really don't know him. I know the name. I think I've met him. I don't know if he's still at.
No, he's retired out.
Oh, he's retired out.
Yeah.
So I don't have any contact information to see if it's anything that he's interested in. But I will say this, and it might sound strange, but when I joined the board, Carolyn Fitzpatrick said, I think I was taking Michelle Paff's seat, and that basically they wanted to make sure that there was a woman on here. And if we don't have another woman, then I'll be the only one between LDC, IDA, and so I think just to throw that out there, that's something that we should consider as well, just because I think you're the only woman on the LDC. And so with you being gone and we put Chuck in there, then I think, I don't know. That's just I'm not looking at being a DEI person or anything like that. It's just, I think Greg recommended her because of what her expertise is, and he thought that she might be a good addition. So anyway, so we have 4 names. I think we have to look at one to see whether that is a conflict or not, and go from there.
Okay.
So we should be ready for next month.
Yeah. Right.
Well, Chuck's won't, well, we can still discuss that next month because it would still be into December and, so anyway, but we'll be ready for next month.
Well, thanks. That leads us to what is on the agenda, the finance committee. It starts on page 23, Paul.
Well, first we'll go to Lyle to talk about the bad debt recommendation for next year.
I'm recommending that we move the bad debt allowance to $300,000 for next year. Once again, we have only 6 receivables on the books. We have 2 that are in arrears, and we know 1 is going to be written off, but there may be collateral to offset that. It appears there is. One is JCIDA, which is not doing anything. And then of course, Convolve, and who knows what's going to happen to that. But I think 300 will be adequate for 2025. I used the 3 months average methodology that I developed for one of the former treasurers that didn't like the way we did it. And it worked well when we had some $4 or $5 million outstanding and a lot more accounts. But doing it now, it gives us a very low percentage of bad debt allowance, and it's just inadequate. So I think the 300 is probably what we need.
That's for the RLF.
Yes, RLF.
And for Michael, we're gonna remain at the 35,000.
I'm going to remain at 35.
Okay.
We had some accounts that were slow in performing, and they picked up, and actually one is paying extra principal every month. So
I don't see any reason why, going back to the micro, you would need any more.
Nope.
My comfort level. This one's a little different.
Any other questions on the report?
Do you want me to do the budget now, Rob?
Yeah, we'll go through the budget, then we'll do the same thing. We'll approve the bad debt resolution and the budget after that. So just allow you to review everything.
Well, we sat down and discussed the budget. The major changes, you'll see remember the pilot sale leaseback fees are a balancing. It's down from $1,079,306 to $594,33. Depending on what happens, that's probably a lot more realistic number. A lot of that's due to administrative services dropping in the expense side. I'm trying to see what else did we talk
but
about.
with 5 people, we have much less administrative expense that has to be allocated to the IDA.
So overall, the balancing act, that's where the major changes are. The depreciation is up for 20, I gotta look here. Depreciation, we still have to carry Arsenal Street depreciation on our books because we're gonna own it for how many more years? I'll be long gone before then.
30 more, I think.
Yeah.
Are we doing a different audit
thought it was a 10-year.
this year?
We'll be required to do a single audit again this year.
Okay, I just wondered that their fees have gone down.
Didn't we remove one audit for next year because of the ARPA money or something like that?
actually, they came back and asked for more money last year on the LDC or IDA, I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah, so, but that's down 4,000 from last year.
Yeah.
So that's basically, plus we don't show it, the bad debt doesn't show the 300 or the 35 because that wasn't approved by the board yet. So that's the major items in our budget. And I'd move the budget then we can have more questions, unless there's questions from committee members of the rest of the board.
I think the only thing I brought up in our meeting was, I know we have historically done this balancing act, but I don't understand a purpose to overstate revenue that's never gonna happen. I feel like companies can budget for losses and it helps you toughen and weather things, but it just gives like, hey, everything's zero and there's no way in heck it's gonna get there. So I sort of asked the board, we can think about it next year, but is there a reason we want everything to be balanced? I know it's historically why we needed to do it. I'm not sure. I think Lyle said there's no accounting reason we need to do it.
There's no
It's
accounting
just
reason.
historically it's been done that way.
It was done primarily because that's the way the board wanted it.
But like most companies have their sales team submit budgets of how much you're gonna earn, and then you determine what to do. It's not like we can hire and fire staff because we really don't have a lot. So like the expenses are gonna be fixed, but it would be important to maybe understand how tough some years would be. Because we're living on our cash accounts. And that'll be a discussion later on too. So it's something we can talk about next year.
We've had this discussion every year.
I know.
It's like I point out every month, there's no way we're going to make the revenue stream. I mean, if one of these large solar projects goes, we will exceed that 453. But the likelihood of one of those going through and getting a pilot through us in the next 12 months, I think is unreal. That would be unrealistic expectations on our part.
Boy, we missed that RCI money.
Need to close on one of those bonds that are out there too. So that was my only comment. But Paul, what I'll do is I'll go back to the resolution for the bad debt and then I'll move the budget, just kind of do it in the order that are in the packet. There's no particular purpose, but Jefferson County Industrial Development Agency Resolution 10.03.2024.01 for approving a reserve for bad debt allowances for calendar year ending 2025. While the CFO recommended increasing the RLF bad debt allowance to $300,000 and keeping the micro bad debt allowance at $35,000. 26 September, the Finance Committee of the IDA reviewed the recommendation and agreed to move it to the full board of directors.
So
Read a resolution, Paul, first,
Second,
split, Lisa, you get it.
gee, thanks.
Split decision. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the bad debt allowance, motion to, we can have more discussion on the budget, but motion to accept the budget as reviewed.
I'll make that
That's
motion.
Paul,
I'll second.
Dave. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor of the budget, aye? Any opposed? The budget carries.
Kind of ironic, our first meeting with this resolution, we have our new county administrator.
But you didn't bring a check.
We're not giving a very good.
How come we don't all have our hands up? Come on. He did balance the budget for us. Okay, unfinished business. There is a consideration of executive session, and there are a couple matters that are most likely more sensitive to discussion executive session. So the first unfinished business is the extension. This might be one of those matters. So a question I discussed with Paul Warnick the other day, Druin Distribution Limited Refertilizer, they're looking for an extension. So this is on page 27. This has been about a year since I think we approved their application. So the question is,
No,
And it may be an executive
It
session.
was this year.
it was this year.
It was this year?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. It's
time
May,
flies.
I think
More
it
like
was-
6 months.
Yeah, May.
Okay,
yeah.
so I was thinking it was last year.
Nope.
But the question still
For a
remains,
couple
has
months.
much changed that we need to review and maybe have, so, because there's no information in here except they met a covenant.
Well, what it was, the hassle is, we are insisting on key man life
Correct.
insurance. And that's where, because one brother's in Canada, you
Okay.
gotta get it here. So that's what took
So
so
it took it
long,
all,
That-
call it 6 months, 5 months, something.
something like that.
Okay, so
But
there
I got
hasn't been a
that in
substantive change
No, no
in
change, no
anything else
nothing.
in the application or the balance sheet?
Nope.
Now Marshall told me positive.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah,
If you are willing to disclose that.
They have continued to work their business and have done a couple of trade shows and have positive things to report.
Mhm.
More anecdotally, I would say, but if there's anything additional that you'd like to comment on, Robin, I mean, he's telling us, you know, things are going really well with ACE and that that has resulted in some additional pieces of business. But go ahead.
Yeah, the trade shows are working. He went to one in August and September. Next month, he's going to Nevada. But these trade shows, and being connected with ACE, has gotten his name out there. He's had one call with Home Depot in New York State to get into Home Depots in New York State, and he's really thinking, he's following up on that, but that's looking really positive, so.
Just for the record, this is refertilizer.
Yes,
Yes.
correct.
And I apologize for
No worries.
forgetting their name.
It's this
But when I
refertilizer.
talked to Rob, I said it'd be nice to know if their financial projections that they gave us when they did their application, they gave us, you know, how did they fare compared to what they told us their expectations were? And
He's coming down to meet with us next week, and I'll ask that from him, have him show it. He says
I
sales
mean-
are doing well,
in the scheme of things, what was this, a $10,000?
20.
$20,000 loan, right? He initially asked for 40,
And we
but
cut
we
it.
cut it down to 20.
The 20 and-
In the scheme of
Talking
things,
about
it's
2
not
months.
one of the bigger ones we've done, but
Okay.
there were some concerns about what it was, what their product is and what their product was promoting, so.
Okay. Fair enough.
But if it's only been 6 months, I
Or
guess,
less.
Yeah.
Well, and
I was thinking it was last year. I couldn't
so did
find
I.
my records.
Yeah, no,
I'll make a motion, we give them the extension until December 1st that they've requested.
perfect.
Second,
I'll second it.
any other discussion? All in favor of the extension to December 1, 2024?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Seems like this is in a better position now than it was.
Yeah,
So
well, they have
absolutely.
more facts. I mean, time's passed, so it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
I'm
Getting out to
gonna,
those
I'm
trade
gonna
shows.
move the consideration of the executive session towards the end of the meeting, so we can kind of just do the rest of the stuff and make it easier for everyone here. So if we park the executive session to the other business, proposed fee schedule is on page 28. Marshall or Justin, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, this came up.
I'm sorry, I was just.
Page 28, proposed fee schedule.
Yes, this came as a result of us having different fees for different things that we do here. And I would like them to be all uniform personally. And we talked about this, and it just makes sense for us. Lyle or Robin, if you have any comment, by all means.
Yeah, just making it the same across the board, consistent, you know, especially, you know, with our pilots and the bonds and stuff, we want to make sure that they're all the same. Now, because we're all doing the same kind of work, so why is one different than the other?
Are these the actuals on page 28 as they exist today, or are these proposed? It says
The only
proposed,
change on the IDA is we're gonna keep the 2,500 and not credit it back if it's pilot.
Yeah, where it's crossed out, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the only change
So-
on the IDA.
but I'm looking at page 28. Is that
150.
the existing or what we're changing it to?
This is the-
There's no changes.
There's no
on that.
changes on
I'm-
28.
So is there a
Okay.
request to change it all to 250?
Oh, I'm sorry, they're lined out on
Yeah, it's funny because we've talked about this in a couple of different ways. And one of the things regarding the thing that we're discussing here is having them not be able to return the 2,500, correct?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not credit it back.
Yeah, because there were some other things, and I'm sorry for the confusion there. This is a situation where, just as we talked about before, we spend the amount of time working through these, whether they close or not, and we don't want to consider returning the money if they decide to not do it after we've already put the work in. So that's the real crux
I
of
think
this.
that's where we need to have plain and clear that if we're expending, attorney fees and like that, somewhere they have to know that
They put in an application, they pay us.
I feel like they
We
ought to
get
just
started.
get a monthly statement.
Yeah.
If you were to hire Justin personally, I'm
Yeah.
sure he would send you a monthly statement. He wouldn't just wait.
Yeah.
So I think our due diligence is if we have an application, we've collected a fee, there should just be an understanding that the month after the legal fees were expended, they get a monthly statement, whether they've done something or not. I mean, that could be added into it. Maybe it's already understood or inferred, but.
We have seen numerous of these, fail to respond on time, and it creates more work for Justin, and which raises our costs, and we need to find a way to recapture. But my only question would be, what is your plan then if they make an application and we deny it?
It already is non-refundable.
It says right at the top, non-refundable.
Yeah, but we've refunded one in the past.
We did, but it was a special circumstance.
So,
That's the board's
Well,
decision.
the board can make an exception.
Yeah.
But also if we institute kind of a monthly fee type thing, if it's not paid, it actually sets up a default mechanism. So we could actually stop other actions where we don't really have those rights now. Maybe we do, maybe we don't.
We do on the bonds. We have a monthly
Yeah, I'm talking more
Manual
the
fee.
pilot stuff where.
pilots and loans and so on. There is a lot of maintenance of these accounts ongoing until they're paid off, until the pilot is finished. We have extensive reporting to the state. And you can't just set up a bunch of solar projects with pilots and not maintain it, because we have to report what they would have paid had they not had the pilot. And so it's,
we have to do that on all the pilots though, right?
yes, we do.
So why do we have renewable energy products as the only one with the annual administration fee?
That's a bond.
Oh, that,
Re-energy?
no, lease-back transactions, we have renewable energy specific. Do we need to charge that on all the projects?
We have it on, up top too, the annual fee for the taxable exempt, there's 1,500 on, right there.
Well, we're collecting an
That's an
annual fee
annual
of
fee.
1,000 for everything but renewable over 1,500.
Well, renewables we are.
Oh, okay, he's saying here.
We had a number of solar projects approved prior to that fee being added.
Okay.
And it's only
It's
right
just
now, I
like-
believe it's only a handful that pay the 1,500.
What about this?
We are
here? So
showing
the annual fees are
$1,000
1,000 here.
I know that, but why is there a difference
But the
between, why is it hard?
Renewable energy is 1,500, but we're saying annually for pilots only 1,000.
Okay,
Well, no, renewables.
1,500, right?
Yeah, renewables.
So are you also proposing to raise the micro enterprise loan fee from 100 to 250? To have them all the same?
I think that could be crippling.
Yeah, 'cause
micros-
those loans are
small.
too small.
And I'm sorry for that. That's my fault for the confusion. We've talked about these fees ad nauseum.
Yeah.
And I've gotten, and that has come up, but I don't.
Well, you had said that earlier on, and it's
Yeah.
like, that
So
would be a criticism.
Why don't we do this? There's some discussions, maybe improvement in the application that
Yep.
you can get with Justin.
Absolutely.
So let's say by the December board meeting, if it happens in November, great, but let's make a proposal to the full board.
Absolutely.
So we'll hit all of the things, and in December would be a good target, kind of close out the year. If it happens in November, fantastic. but we can consider the reimbursement monthly, look at why is there a difference to Paul's point
Yeah.
between renewable and non-renewable. I feel like we felt there was more maintenance of the renewable, but I don't know.
And there is. but
We
yes,
definitely added in the $2,000 for reassignment because that appears to happen.
frequently.
Well, it's happening today. in
Happening
fact,
today.
Twice. So, but whatever. I mean, it's a fee, and that's good. So, are you okay with that assignment, Justin? That is 2 months enough time to contemplate some changes?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. And if it happens in January, that's fine too. But I think just to get it on our target.
Yep.
Any other comments or questions or ideas on application fees and application language? Let's move to the last matters on the agenda before contemplation of executive session. Page 44 and 48. It seems self-explanatory, but Justin, you want to give us kind of a high level of what we're going to be voting on?
Oh, sure. The two assignment resolutions are, in essence, the same resolutions you saw a few months back. You went through the process of moving those assignments with a prior buyer. That transaction didn't close, and the buyer moved on, I'm told. So within a short period of time, in the last month, they've been approached by Radio Power, which is actually a joint venture between Focus Infrastructure Partners and another entity, which is a large housing developer. Radio Power is entering into a purchase of 4 projects controlled by OIA. 2 in your county, 1 in Franklin, and then another one, I believe, in Oswego, in Alaska. So anyway, they found a new buyer, and because of the new buyer structure, our prior approving resolution needs to be revised to be specific to the buyer. So that's what we have to do today.
Okay, thanks. I'll read the first resolution and then we can kind of go through it, and if there's questions, it'll probably be the same types of questions on either of the resolutions. Page 44, authorizing resolution OIA Robinson Road LLC project, resolution 10.03.2024.02, resolution of the Jefferson County Industrial Development Agency authorizing the proposed assignment of membership interest in the company pursuant to an assignment and assumption agreement, and authorizing the execution and delivery of documents relating to the same. This is relating to a project authorizing resolution for OIA Robinson Road LLC, adopted on August 6, 2020. We've just heard the particulars from council. And let's see, I'm trying to find the 5th whereas clause, whereas company advised agency that the current parent company and company controlled by OIA Solar will be sold and acquired through Radio Power LLC, the new company, and then there's a bunch of other subsidiary named indemnities. This is an assignment of the ownership, and reading the resolution, do I have a motion to accept it as read? Paul?
Second.
Dave? Any other discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Justin, on the breakdown of their costs, there's something in here, SPE sales / acquisition price. What is SPE?
The special purpose entity, they're acquiring the company, not necessarily the assets of traditional sales. So they're buying the LLC, and they broke it down the cost of the transaction.
So they're paying $9 million to get title to that project?
Well, all in, I think that $9 million reflects all of the costs of the project within their.
I'm just trying to get back to what one of these projects is really worth. You know, in a what's the market value of a solar project?
And the difference, what's the, also along with that, what's the difference between the first sale and this sale? Is the amount, was the amount lowered or raised?
I can check, I think it's, in the SP sale acquisition price, for your purposes, Paul, it's, $2.25 million is listed here as the purchase price, for each of the entities. So if you wanted, if you wanted to go buy out their entity, I think that would be the price. And with that comes all the tax attributes downstream, that's part of the value of it.
So this I'm from the assessment world, okay? So I'm thinking, here's a project that was in the $6-7 million range, if I remember correctly, when Oya came here to build it, that they've just sold for 2.25 million.
Well, they've already received all the tax incentives.
Yeah,
They're not likely passing along.
I just want to see if that's, because this would value you out less than that in the new model. And that's what I'm trying to get to. How are they valuing out compared to what their real market value is? But I don't have a problem with transferring the project to the new ownership group. Either of these. But that was just trying to understand more what they actually paid to get ownership and the benefits that are left with that project.
Well, but that 2.5 is, there's three projects, right? I mean, the original was 9 million and the 2.5 is for one of them, and you put three of them together, you're back to the.
No, it was 5 or 6 for each. Well, Oya, remember, was a couple of 5s and a 3 or a 2.5.
And
It
this is
was,
only 2 of them.
so,
Okay.
And there's other things in there.
But
Agency fees.
I'm just trying to get to what is the market value of one of these projects that's 3 years old?
Well, that was the nice thing about the first, the resolutions we approved here a couple of months ago, was we had some hard numbers.
Well, hate to see Oya go. They were the easiest group to work with.
Reasonable, yeah.
This one's a roll call vote. Peggy, please.
Rob,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
John is absent, Lisa,
Yes.
Dave.
Yes.
Okay, that resolution carries. So moving to page 48, really the same general authorizing resolution, different names. Authorizing resolution Oil Wayside Drive LLC, resolution 10.03.2024.03, resolution of the Jefferson County Industrial Development Agency authorizing the proposed assignment of membership interest in the company pursuant to an assignment and assumption agreement, and authorizing the execution and delivery of documents relating to same. This is pursuant to the project authorizing resolution adopted by us August 6, 2020 for Oil Wayside Drive LLC. Similar company buying it, whereas clause, I think it's 5, current parent company will be sold and acquired by Radio Power LLC, and then a bunch of other named interest. We have a motion to accept the resolution as read.
So moved.
I heard you first, Lisa. You didn't say it loud enough.
First.
Bill, you're second. Hey, I was looking at you. That's why I heard that. You didn't really say it. You just moved your lips.
I said it.
Well, I didn't hear it.
You just moved your lips.
I couldn't hear you say it. So I have a first and a second. Any other discussion? Otherwise, a roll call vote, please.
Rob,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
John is absent, Lisa,
Yes.
Dave.
Yes.
Resolution carries.
Thank you.
That leaves us with 2 matters. Consideration of an executive session and or adjournment. Now, I don't know if there's some things the board, there was one matter we had hoped to have greater update to talk about in public session. We don't. And Paul, I know there was one thing you brought up, but I'm not sure it completely warrants an executive session. The one on the lake.
The one.
Never mind.
Okay.
If it doesn't ring a bell for you.
No, it doesn't. Well, I thought we were going to talk about the industrial park one.
We can. I just didn't know if there's anything to update. If it,
I wouldn't say there really is much to update.
Okay.
If not, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Second,
I'll second.
all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned.
All right, you need to pay attention. We're going into the heaviest organization.
This
we've got.
one is gonna take all of our brain power.
Yeah, with that suit.
Hang on, I want you.
Well, we had two.
Great,
I'm
there's one
leaving
more.
before the last one.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll call to order Jefferson County Civic Facility Development Corporation, monthly board meeting, minutes are on page 3. Motion to approve them, please.
Yes.
Yes, Paul?
Second.
Dave? Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are carried. We have 3 monthly reports. We'll focus on September. Paul, treasurer's
3
report.
monthly
Well,
reports.
there's July, August, and September in here, but they don't really change much.
Well, our fee income has come in of $8,500 in the July. That was the big. In August, there were no transactions. In September, there was $10,250 in our fee incomes. Those are annual processing fees for monitoring and handling those loans that are out there. And I think it is Samaritan, excuse me,
JCC,
JCC
yep, the door.
and Samaritans. So I think there's 3 out there, correct?
Samaritan has 2.
Yes, one's for up on the hill
Yes.
and one is for the hospital pot. So those are the annual maintenance fees, and those have come in those 3 months. So if there's no questions, I would move all 3 reports if we can do them as a block.
Yep, we can. Second.
I'll second.
Oh, Dave's got it.
Dave, any other questions or discussions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? They stand. Motion carries. Finance Committee, page 11, I think, Paul.
Oh, the budget?
Yeah, or the Finance Committee and the budget, yep.
Or debt allowance.
There is no debt allowance in this.
There are no receivables
So,
other than the fee schedule.
and the budget just includes a $10,250 annual processing fee line item for 2025.
Which is pretty well known.
And that is the only item in the entire budget at this time.
All right, we have a motion to accept this budget as presented.
So moved.
Lisa, second.
Second.
Bill, any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The fee schedule was also on here. We've already, I don't think we would overrule our prior decision to park this until December in this committee, but is the board okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. So that leads us to any unfinished business, which I don't believe there is any, and adjournment. which I'm sure
Motion
I'll
to
get lots of volunteers for. Second,
Second.
Second.
all in favor, aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned from this hearing.
One more.
So,
Is the third, John's the.
Oh, I don't know.
He's the chair.
So do we even have a
We
quorum?
don't have a quorum.
You don't even have a quorum. I forget who the members are, because Rob and John aren't here.
John,
Bill's
Dave,
here.
Bill.
Bill,
So, and then the other
Dave and Lisa.
two, the other
Joe.
two.
The only thing I will say
outside
is
are-
that the meeting is supposed to begin at 9:15,
Oh,
and Joe Cook and Paul Smith,
so that's 1 minute from now.
yeah, they
I
had.
don't know how we kept this on time.
I know, this is
This is
something.
like miraculous.
This could have gone 3 hours.
they're
I
like,
thought it was going to, but I'll come to your office and talk about something.
Marsh, did they say they were coming?
They did not respond,
Oh.
So we may not. have
so we may not, I guess we'll
We have a
give
minute.
them another minute.
So, how does, I guess stupidly, was there a pecking order? If John's not here, who's like second, third in command to run
I
it?
just was under the assumption something would happen.
I frankly
Dave
lost,
had responded.
frankly lost track of who's actually on this.
Vice chair,
Rob Aiken is vice chair, but he's also not here.
and then.
Marshall
Second
is
treasurer.
engineering, so-
I know. I'm-
Here's your agenda.
I know.
Okay, oh, you got it.
When you sent the email.
Nothing here.
Good afternoon.
Starting the article. No, we didn't talk to-
Yeah,
Have they committed?
The meeting doesn't start.
Oh, so that, they didn't commit.
So that's right after the news last night.
which news?
About the ferret, the building is falling down as part of this.
Oh,
project.
well, that's really what, that was gonna be part of the discussion here. But that's, it sounds like maybe, that might be one of
No, that was Chris leaving, I
them.
think.
Was it?
Yep.
Okay.
So why don't we wait until 9:16 because it's 9:15 until
Yep.
9:16?
Yep.
And then we do not have a quorum, there's 3 of the 6, 3 of the 7 here.
Should I do just a quick update,
At 9:16.
at 9:16?
We haven't let our chair for the meeting call the meeting, well, you can't really call to order. I guess you can do an unofficial update.
Yeah.
We'll do it in a minute.
I know you brought up the whole thing. I don't need to contact this.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's why I think, no, that's why I think Chuck would be a great replacement for him. But,
Okay.
you know what I mean, if I'm the only one, I know you want somebody who's gonna be a good board member, no matter what. I totally get that. It's the image that,
Forgetting
Diligent,
the
I called him
transition.
about.
I heard.
well, you know, the feds, I think the feds might pay for that.
No,
I'm saying there's so many
Chris-
sitting here.
Chris is asking.
Oh, yeah, I'm in favor of Chuck.
Okay.
That's, but we have two positions, so.
So we're gonna have your tentative,
They passed their budget.
so we have a quorum now. We have 4.
Oh,
What happened to us last time we did that?
3,
We
4.
took some
We have 4 of
criticism.
7. So we got 4.
There we go.
You're actually having a meeting.
I'm not
Yeah,
on
one more
this.
meeting.
Good morning, Paul.
Good morning. Oh, you're not talking.
Oh, square.
Can you hear us okay? He's kinda,
The only way
It's not mute. No, it
we're
says
going
mute.
to
Oh, no.
get
Unmuted.
yeah, he should be able to speak. Paul, can you hear us?
Every taxi.
There he is.
To opt out of 47, then they.
Good morning, sir.
That's why they wanted to be, but
Good, we
We're gonna
can't
talk
hear you.
about that stuff today in our meeting.
Yeah, talk about Shimon too. The fact they aren't paying anything to us.
That was the one.
My ass. We had a
I
public.
don't think it's reasonable to expect the towns to go to negotiation with this multi.
I had issues with Zoom because
They're
they
gonna run away.
went to
Look what
work.
they did. Look what they
And
did,
I always
look
have
what they
photos
did
in the
to the
background.
school
So
and
that's
Shimon.
the radio on.
What they did is
Still
so
see.
I think
I
it's,
can't
I
find
think
anyone who
personally,
knew when to do that.
solar companies have two options.
And
IDA
it screwed
pilot
up my
or
mind
state
and
assessment.
Oh, it's fine.
That's it.
No.
There shouldn't be a third run them on
I would-
that and try
under
to get a
which
deal, the
video?
best deal with each
Oh.
jurisdiction.
Yeah.
There's only one school district, but this.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, what they're doing is they're enticing
hear you.
with these community agreements and we'll donate to your fire department and they get all sweet with the town board members.
Yeah, I think it was a road meeting.
Skip out on 20 years of taxes.
Brother John's on the Shimon Library Board.
So I-
Flu shot.
And they took
It
money.
did, and for me too, it
Well,
was, you know,
they went.
I don't know, I didn't like that.
Yeah, like, recording now.
I guess,
The library board member.
Way over to the right. It's
I said,
Yeah.
I warned him.
Can you call him on phone?
I warned him that when you take that money, the fire department's.
This is an
Oh, yeah,
executive
you're
long
advocating
meeting.
for a
We're
project.
Yeah.
20 minutes.
You're gonna
It was getting
lose
its fault.
donors on my side.
Or you can type the number in the chat and
Do you feel
Lewis County,
Oh, no.
Came
it
out
might be
short
commercial cell,
on
too.
their pilot agreements
Approved minutes
for
for last
solar,
week.
for wind. No, I don't. You think that was a good deal? Yes, I do. And not only that, I don't think the projects would have ever gone without it, because the companies need that stability of knowing what they're gonna pay over 20 years. You can't count on some local elected assessor across 5 jurisdictions and 300 parcels. You'd be in court over each individual parcel every year. I mean,
But you don't feel this money was left on the table for benefits for Lewis County?
No, I don't.
I'm just waiting to see when they appreciate how, if you push those down, your pilots are pretty close to passing full taxation now. Based what I
So that's why we've fought, that's why Lewis
Paul, is
was
this you?
exceptionally concerned about the new state
Okay.
assessment model,
All right.
because it undercuts what we got from those
Okay.
companies.
So we
So
have
that's why I
Paul,
feel like we got full taxation.
joining
That's why
us.
we feel like we did good, because the state's model
It's too close to the mic.
He's got it.
works.
Yeah, you're a little close to the thing. Maybe if you muted until you're,
You can actually mute him.
he's calling you on the phone.
No, I'm saying you can mute him on his computer.
Oh, I hear what you're saying.
There we go.
Okay.
Now.
Now-
All right, now we should be good. Good call. Thank you, Rob. So you can hear us okay, Paul?
We mute his phone.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh.
perfect. So,
Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. We have minutes from our August 1st meeting. They've been presented. I didn't entertain a motion in a second for approval.
So moved.
okay.
Any discussion on our minutes from our first meeting? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have an update for the new Restore New York grant.
Sure.
Harsh?
Yes, so we held a meeting here in this office, and we brought in the county, the development authority, as well as the attorney's office, the new county attorney, John Sabick, as well as, and I'm sorry, I forgot her name, his deputy.
Carrie.
Carrie.
Yeah, Fahrenbach. And so really the gist of it was to discuss the process of the Restore grant, to make sure that everybody knew exactly what was going on and how we're gonna go through this grant and clean up the site and then redevelop the site after that. So really what's gonna happen here is that, and we also brought in Steve Hunt from ESD to sort of talk about the Restore grant, generally speaking. So the Development Authority at this point is putting together the project specs as well as the bid documents. The county currently holds title to the property, and really we wanted to talk about, because the plan has been the county takes title, and then depending on the project and how that's moving along and when they're going to be transferring the title of the property to the DeFerry Redevelopment Corporation. And also administrating this Restore grant and who's going to actually be doing that. And so what came about at the meeting is that Jacob Jacks from the Development Authority has been the one specifically that's been putting together the specs, as well as beginning the bid document discussion. And so Development Authority is going to be handling the admin of the Restore grant, working with the county, and then we are going to support them in any way necessary. We go through the project, hiring contractors, Development Authority be handling that, and then for the reimbursements, it has to go through Jefferson County, and so they will be handling that process again with any necessary support from the DeFerry Redevelopment Corp. And then once the project is completed, the county will be transferring the property to the DRC. So I guess, in the meeting, we also discussed a little bit about some important pieces here, and some being maybe a little bit more critical than others, specifically the post office building, which is a part of the Restore grant. It's raising as well as cleanup. The building itself is falling down, as are a number of buildings out there. However, this one is less secure than the other ones. It was behind really what I would classify as snow fencing and some signage that is in disrepair. So what the county has agreed to do is to board up the entrances as well as a couple of the windows and put a more secure fencing around the property. The issue here is that we want to make sure that the demo piece is covered by the grant. And if we went ahead and just sent some equipment on there, pulled that down, all of those expenses would not be covered under the grant because it wasn't done in the timely process of the bidding and all the pieces of the Restore grant. So while I think everyone, including the mayor of DeFerriet, especially the mayor of DeFerriet, would like that to be done as quickly as possible. He understands the need for this process understands the process of the grant, as well as the financial concerns that need to be that are important in this process. So I just wanted to mention that and thank you to the county, as well as John and Buildings and Grounds in working through and making that piece of property as safe as it can be currently, until which time we're able to get it raised and cleaned up. So I guess there's two things. County's working on getting that piece of property secure, and then we have a plan in place for the Restore grant and working through that. So that's really the update. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I certainly would entertain them as best as I can. Or if Paul has any comments that he'd like to make as well.
So the county is going to maintain ownership of the property through demolition and grant administration?
Yes.
So is there, just an outside question, the grant amount is for how much right now?
10 million.
10 million?
9.
9. Is there any contingencies in there? I mean, do you, and this kind of a cleanup, you never know, what overruns you're gonna have, how is that handled? Should there be overruns?
I'm not sure. There are, I'm sure, a number of contingencies on this project. It's really raising cleanup and environmentals, essentially, is what this is all about, and redevelopment after the fact.
What's the timeline for cleanup?
Well, we need to get moving on it very quickly. We need to have I believe, a contractor in place by the 1st.
No, before the first.
Before the 1st, is it 12/1?
No, 12/30, right, Bill?
12/30, okay.
Yeah, because it's the ARPA money, so they have to have a signed contract before the end of the year.
Have we developed an RFP and put the thing out to bid? Because that's a tall order.
It sure is, and we discussed that, and that piece is being handled by the Development Authority, and they understand the timeframe.
Okay.
And John had brought that up during the meeting about that, for lack of a better phrase, we need to get on the horse on this.
But he also felt
Doable.
doable.
Yeah,
The
and-
attorneys understood too.
Yep.
He
And
said-
the Development Authority is well underway.
Yep.
I was pleasantly surprised at Jacob's understanding of this process.
They've done this before.
They've done it before.
Mhm.
I would just add one thing, it's never too early to start talking about the marketing and redevelopment of the property.
Yes.
So if we need to do any market analysis, studies, environmental analysis, whatever, put together some pro formas or prospectus.
Yep.
It'd be great to be able to kind of have that come together right at the same time as cleanup.
We've actually, I will say that there is a nefarious BOA in place, and we have a stakeholders group, and we have had a number of different options that we've talked about for that redevelopment, and we are working through that, absolutely.
When they took the power line down, is there any power there right now?
There is, because Brookfield has some power generating equipment in the facility.
Yeah, they still have a dam there.
And
It's
it's not big.
23 kV is the voltage. I checked with Jerry Hanlon after our other meeting. There's possibly 5 megawatts of capacity there. And I mean, the original restore, when we talked about this, it was like 100
Yes.
megawatt.
And that, yeah, I'm sorry, Bill.
So there is, but it's limited. But the thing I also was thinking about, there's been 2 utility grade solar developments proposed. One's just sitting there in Brownville. Both of them are building their own 115 substation as part of the project. So I would think that this site would still be an optimal place to put a large, even though they've got to build their substation, and I don't know how far they would have to build a transmission line. It still might be feasible for a developer to do that.
Yeah, it could very well be. It is interesting how the narrative that comes out of it, though, is that, the lines are down. That's no longer an option, and I don't know if that's true.
I don't need it.
So it is a tough situation considering a solar farm was at the head of the BOA discussion until it was discovered that the transmission line was removed, and that was a big surprise to everyone.
Bill, would a private entity be able to run their transmission line on National Grid's poles to a private substation? Or do they have to put new poles up?
Poles are down.
They're gone.
Oh, they're all gone.
Yeah.
I mean,
Chop them
well,
down.
they're gone at the site, but they're gone everywhere?
Yeah, I think the structures to over wherever they're connected is they're done.
All pulled out.
But only on
On
site.
On the site.
I'm talking about through all the right of ways to get to wherever the substation is, which is presumably more than a mile away, or it could be 10 miles away. I don't know.
It's probably a mile.
Okay.
It's not
So
real far, but far
it
enough.
has to leave the site, but once
Yeah.
it leaves the boundary of the site, I guess my question is, there are utility poles within
Well,
the
the
vicinity.
the transmission line is obviously still there, the main
Okay.
transmission line.
Okay.
It's the tap that came off the transmission lines to the paper mill that they took out.
Which in terms of a potential new development, a mile of reconnect isn't cost prohibitive.
Not at all.
I can't comment on that, but yeah.
I would think it would still be an
The
opportunity.
substation's the big bucks.
And I gotta assume the grid has still got the right of ways across there, even though they took the poles down.
I'm sure they do, yeah.
Okay.
Paul, do you have any comments?
Phone.
He's on there.
Yeah, he's
This ain't talking into it.
Well, the computer's moving.
we can't hear you. I'm sorry. Here we go. Okay. All right, thank you, sir. So I guess beyond that, there's really not a whole lot to discuss.
Any questions or anything? I take a entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, aye?
All right.
Opposed? We stand adjourned.
Nice meeting you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
I don't even know when they're gonna
Thank you, everyone.
Hey, we got all 4 meetings done by 9:30. You even threw an extra meeting in.
Yeah. Boom.
I told him, schedule a flu shot for Robin, figured we'd be here all day.
Yeah,
so
so I
All right,
probably
so
should have
we're-
said
I know,
that
but-
we have